Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I'm your host, Marco Mazzola, and as always, we're joined by our co-host, Mila. Say hello.
Howdy.
Howdy. And today we have a very special guest who I hope makes multiple appearances on our show. Say hello, Eleanor.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eleanor. I'm very excited to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I have been training with Marco since I was a wee little itty bitty bean, since I was like 8 or 9 years old. I love Star Trek, which is what we're going to be talking about today. I consider myself an amateur Star Trek scholar. And I don't know, what else? What would you like me to say about myself?
No, that's good.
All
That's
right.
awesome. So yes, as Eleanor said, we're going to be talking about Star Trek today, all things Star Trek. We're going to kind of run through as much of it as we can, as many different series. Mila, I know you said you've seen the original series and Next Generation. Those are kind of your two.
That would be correct.
There you go. Awesome. Right. But Eleanor, tell us what your favorites are and what you've seen. So we just kind of start there.
Yeah. So I've seen mostly all of the old ones. I started on original series. My mom and my grandma were actually very into original series, so I started on that one. I watched with my mom. The very first episode I ever watched was The Arena with the Gorn.
Wow, that's a good one to start with.
I remember it so clearly. It's a great episode to start on. Then I had a really intense Next Gen phase. The first time I watched Next Gen was when I went on like an academic leave overseas. I was sort of just like hanging out, doing school in New Zealand and watching a lot of Next Gen in the evenings. And now I live with roommates who are very into Star Trek, so there's a lot of just like Star Trek on my TV all the time. But yeah, I first got into it in like sophomore year of high school, which is a very impressionable time. I feel like stuff that you get into around that age like really, really sticks with you. So
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
True.
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's actually when I started to get into Next Generation.
yes,
Around
yeah,
that time.
yeah, it really sticks with you when you get into it at that time. So yeah, I really love Star Trek. I love science fiction in general. I think Star Trek is such a huge part of like science fiction history, especially in the United States. I love talking about that, about like the history of science fiction as a genre. So yeah, I think Star Trek is really cool. It's a rich cultural text, as I love to say.
It is. It is. So which is your
yeah.
favorite series? That's a loaded question. That can
it
be
is
really
a
tough.
very hard question. I am gonna have to. I feel like DS9 is the best one. I feel like in terms of like television show quality with a capital Q, DS9 is like the most quality television. But I really like the heart of Next Gen. Next Gen has a really big heart. And the new one, Lower Decks, is great. Like
Yes,
Lower Decks
we're definitely
is
going to start talking about that.
Oh my God.
I just
Lower
started
Decks
watching
is
it.
like-
I just started getting into it.
Lower Decks is what I've always wanted out of new Star Trek.
Yep.
So I love Lower Decks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. See how I dodged the question? I didn't give one favorite.
No, that's okay. No, that's perfectly
clever,
that's
very
good
clever.
though, because it doesn't mean you have to have one favorite. There's so much.
Yeah.
Who needs to
Yes.
have a favorite? You can enjoy all of them equally, or some more than others, but doesn't mean you have to pick a favorite. Mila, what about you? So you've watched the 2 series.
All right. Oh, this is tough. No. I liked the charm of the original series because, like, as you know, if you've heard this one before on the Doctor Who podcast, I love like classic stuff from that era, and that's literally like pretty much the exact same like vibe, the same feel. So I loved the like feel of the original series, but I think I fell in love with Star Trek with the Next Generation because that's where I started, and I just like ripped through that show. It was so good. And then I watched the first season of Deep Space Nine, and personally, it might have just been the first season. It probably gets better after, but the first season was kind of weak. because it really doesn't make you like a lot of the characters.
Yes.
Right off the bat,
yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, these are all like mid-tier characters that I don't care for.
So the strength of Deep Space Nine is definitely in its like long form multi-episode storylines, and in the first season they were sort of just figuring that out. So the first season is
a rough first
is
season.
tough.
So I'll continue with it, but it was rough.
I agree. I'd have to go back and watch it. I think I watched the first 3 seasons. I think I had them on DVD. And beyond that, I kind of started to fizzle out. And my biggest struggle with DS9 was until about, and you can remind me of which season they kind of started going off the space station more regularly.
Yes.
But for the first so many seasons, it's just you're on the space station.
Yes.
And when you're used to original series,
yes.
Your original, Next Generation, it's all exploring space,
Yes,
and
yes.
I get something new every week and a different alien.
Like it feels like so important to the show.
Yes.
It like in Star Trek in general, that's like such an important factor. It's
We're
like
trekking.
Going different. Like it's literally called Star Trek.
Right.
You're
Yes.
trekking.
It's
through
hard
the
to trek
universe.
when you stay in
So
one
if you're
place.
like just in this one's like base.
Yeah.
There's no trekking really. You're just kind of
That's what I think is so delicious about Deep Space Nine, though, is because my favorite Star Trek episodes are like the ones where they encounter like a new culture and they have to figure out that new culture.
Right.
And so the thing about Deep Space Nine, like staying in one place, is that you have to get really deep into a few of the alien cultures. Like in Deep Space Nine, you get really into the Ferengi.
Mm-hmm.
The Ferengi
I would
episodes.
like to know more about the
Oh
Ferengi.
my god! If you want,
I love
like
those, they actually. Oh my gosh! Something I think Deep Space Nine
Rate
absolutely beats with that Next Generation. Absolutely flopped on was the Ferengi.
Absolutely,
Like
absolutely
the Next
flopped.
Generation, I was like, oh, another Ferengi episode. I'm just like, I won't skip it, but I'll like do stuff in the background because I'm like, I
do
don't
the
care.
same thing. I still do
yeah,
the same thing with
if
Ferengi.
If you,
But like Deep Space Nine, oh my gosh, the Ferengi episodes were like actually
they shine,
the best
they sparkle.
episodes of the first season.
They're absolutely
I was like,
agreed.
no way, oh my
And they
God.
keep getting better. So that Deep Space Nine goes deep into the Ferengi episodes, especially in later seasons, like they sparkle. Armin Shimmerman, just like as Quark, just like made that
He's
whole.
Yeah,
incredible.
actually, Quark
He's
was
incredible. He's an
so-
incredible
like, my
actor.
favorite character
Quark,
so far.
yes.
He made
Yes.
that. He made that species basically. Like he
Yeah.
made that species. There
Yes.
are no Ferengi without him.
Yes.
He's an incredible actor
That's,
anyway.
and
just
that's
in what
like
he
I feel
does.
like that's another huge part of just like Star Trek in general is like Spock. Leonard Nimoy made the Vulcans.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The Vulcans would not be what they are without Leonard Nimoy. Like Armin Shimmerman made the Ferengi. Like it's Star Trek has a I feel like a very big history of like actors really creating a lot
Worf
of the
made the
lore.
Klingons.
Worf made the Klingons. Absolutely
Yep.
agreed. Worf made the Klingons in Next Gen. Like it really has this history of like the actors being a huge part of like the lore in general, which
Right.
I think is very cool. Yeah.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. So I would say, and for me, my favorites would probably be, it's a toss-up for me between Next Generation and Voyager. I'm definitely
I'm
a
excited
Voyager.
to start Voyager, 'cause
The
I've heard it's
Voyager's,
very
I mean,
good.
I just enjoyed it. There's obviously like any series, there's some throwaway episodes. Like, if I go back and watch it, I don't need to
Yeah.
watch this one again. It's a one-off.
Casually just skip over.
I thought Janeway was incredible. It was nice to see. I know it was nice to see a female captain.
Yes.
That was incredible, and I think she did an amazing job with it. I thought she was, there couldn't have been anybody better. Like I
Yes,
really
yeah.
enjoyed her portrayal
Yes.
of Catherine Janeway.
I totally agree.
I mean, just strong. Like go back and I can
She's
watch that
just-
series over
like,
and
you
over and
watch
over. again.
Voyager and Janeway is such like a physical character, like
Flawed but physical, and
she's like always like the way she stands,
Yep.
the way she moves, like the way she like interacts with her shipmates is like she just like shines as a
she
character.
really does, and she has it together. She's incredibly strong, but then again, flawed on certain episodes, and knows, you know what I mean. And it was good to see. There's so many facets to her and her character, and I thought that they really did a good job of fleshing it out. I had a struggle with like Cisco and those guys. Like I had a trouble with his character, and I just
You gotta.
there's something
Here's the thing
about
about
it.
Cisco for me is that you have to see him as the spiritual successor to Captain Kirk. Like the way he acts. I was watching a late DS9 episode. It was like season 6 or something, and Cisco just has this huge dramatic speech about how he let this man beat him. Is he an alien with lifetimes of experience? No, he's just a man, and he beat me. And it's this like hugely like dramatic like monologue, and it's just like, that's William Shatner.
Yes.
Like that is
definitely.
that is the spiritual successor to William Shatner right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, Sisko, oh, such a good captain. Oh, I love Sisko. His relationship with his son, just like so unique and wonderful. Star Trek has kind of a weird relationship with parenthood. In like Next Gen, there's a lot of really weird family relationships, but like Sisko and Jake,
including
like,
Data.
Including Data, yeah. Like, but Sisko and Jake is like the way that relationship is sustained throughout DS9 is like really, really beautiful. I
did find that interesting. Like a lot of like the parenting between Sisko and his son, and sometimes he would handle things like kind of wrong, but then you'd like kind of like figure it out like that. Like, cause that's kind of how it is. You just kind of figure it out as you go. Sisko is really a character that shines in the long term. Because the first season,
season
it was like Sisko wasn't really a character I could. Yeah. Like I was like, oh, Sisko's here.
What are your thoughts on Major Kira in season 1? Because Major short hair, pink jumpsuit. She's kind of like the second in command. The Bajoran.
Yeah. The thing is, I think she's going to be interesting in the future. She was interesting now, but like there was still kind of like a, oh yeah, I've seen this character archetype before. You're like,
I had. Well, that's true. Actually, you did see that character archetype because she was basically just Ro Laren from Next Gen.
Essentially, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, she's just Ro, but like a different face and name.
Because Michelle Forbes didn't want to sign on for another syndicated show, which is totally fair. They just couldn't get the same actress, so they basically made a new character.
Just rebuilt her.
Yep, they just rebuilt her. Better, faster, stronger.
We can rebuild her.
There's more than one Bajoran.
Yes,
we can use another. Okay.
But yeah, like I just thought like her anger was it was like treated so respectfully. Like the way that she was angry was so like they really let her do this. Like usually Star Trek, especially Next Gen, is very like non-confrontational. Next Gen is known for being, Roddenberry had that rule where like the main cast couldn't have interpersonal conflict.
Right.
So like to have Major Kira come in and be like so angry and everyone around her is just like, wow, yeah, you're right. You should be really angry right now. It was like
he passed away during the filming of Next Gen, right? Like when they were still in the series.
Yeah.
So it was before Deep Space Nine, right? Like so I think that kind of helped in a way. I hate to say that, but I think once he was gone, it was kind of like, all right, the old man's gone. We can kind of do what we want at this point, and let's throw out some of the rules that he kind of put in place. Yeah. The new guards would, change things up a little bit. And I can appreciate that.
In some cases, that was good. In some cases, that was not there. Not so good because the people who took over did not always share his vision of equality to the same extent. Yep. There are a lot of stories of like the producers after Roddenberry passed away, stories about Roddenberry being really explicit, wanting to have a gay character, wanting to have an episode about a gay character, and then it took until 2017 for there to be a gay main character in a Star Trek series because the producers just kept blocking it, kept cutting it out. So in some cases they got more freedom, but in some cases
they had too much freedom. To not do things that should have been done a long time ago.
Yes,
absolutely. Exactly. I mean, things like that are you're talking about the future, right? And, it should have been a no-brainer that kind of stuff. You're idealizing the future as to what it's supposed to be. What are we moving towards?
Yes.
So why would you pull things back?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're not pushing anything forward,
Yes.
We had the first interracial kiss under Roddenberry. Like, he's pushing things.
Yes.
Shook everybody,
yes.
right? Shook the foundation, right? But pushing things forward, right? To know that this is what we're supposed to be doing, and then you pull things back after he's gone. You're right. It didn't make any sense. Yes. It made no sense whatsoever.
Yes.
So. Hopefully they're starting to get their stuff together a little bit more and change the guards a little bit.
In some ways, for sure. The newer ones. Oh, I actually, yes, they are in the newer ones, kind of, because in Discovery they had a gay couple. I believe in Picard they're also bringing 7 of 9 back to make her gay, which is good.
Yes.
Everyone knew. Everyone knew. Like, they're just making true what everyone already knew. Thank you.
And that'll be weird because they're gonna have to kind of not retcon, but like she was very much with Chakotay, and that in the series they actually got married, or he lived without her afterwards.
But there's also like such an easy explanation, which is just like, and I feel like this was kind of like talked about when Voyager was first airing. Like 7 of 9 was exploring herself as a human being.
Yes.
Like she was just learning how to be human. Like it is totally reasonable that she just like
hadn't explored that part yet.
Hadn't explored her sexuality yet. Like, hadn't thought about it really. Like, okay, like, most of the women I see are dating men, so I guess this is what I do. Like, it's a totally reasonable character beat to be for her to go back and, like, think about that part of her identity a little more later.
What I think would be the most frustrating is when they do that, is the backlash that'll happen.
Yeah.
Will be just annoying and absurd and frustrating, and, people, and I understand people just totally live and die by these things, and it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a TV show, and it's good to have these things that are pushing the envelope forward and correcting people's really narrow-minded views on things.
7 of 9 was never going to date you anyways.
Exactly.
She's
exactly
fake.
right.
Like,
I don't care how much you liked her costume. She still wasn't going to date you. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to happen. So you got to be able to, blend and go with it, and they just can't. They just have such a hard time with it. It goes back to that whole "you ruined my childhood" thing, or "you ruined this for me." Like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. And they did the same thing in comics when they made Alan Scott gay, the original Green Lantern. Oh my God, I heard, and that's all you could hear about. It's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, like it's just like exploring a new dimension of a character that has already existed. Like it's just like, I don't know. Especially, I think about this in terms of like the way that a lot of new Star Trek shows like keep bringing back Spock. Star Trek 2009 was about Kirk and Spock. Star Trek Discovery is back in original series. They brought back Spock there. I believe there's a new show now.
They did bring back a new Next Generation.
What's the new show called? Star Trek something. But
I'll look it up while you're talking.
But there's a new show that's, I think, focusing on like Kirk and Spock in their academy years.
Of course.
So it's like, if you keep bringing back the same characters, you need a reason to do so, and one of the reasons to do so is to like explore new aspects of the character's identity.
Is it Prodigy?
It's to like,
You're talking about Prodigy, or is it Prodigy?
I think so. I think it's Prodigy.
It's a new TV series starting. It's supposed to be this year.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
The
So
word Prodigy would make sense.
Yeah. So if you're like,
there's another series coming out
back.
next year called Strange New Worlds.
Maybe that's the one I was thinking of.
There's a couple. Obviously, like, there's a lot. There's another movie coming out. Obviously, there's a sequel in 2023 coming out. We have obviously Lower Decks happening right now, which is awesome. So let's talk about Picard, since we kind of mentioned it anyway. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
I have not seen it.
So I'm the only one here who's seen it.
Yes.
Oh boy. So I want to talk about it, and it's really good.
Okay.
It's really. I won't give major details, but
we can talk about the original Star Trek Picard, which is just Next Gen.
Yes.
He got a show about him for 7 seasons. He got one.
He did. Now he got another new show.
He got
it's very, very good.
Yeah.
I want to watch it, but I feel like I need to watch more Star Trek shows before I jump into Picard.
No, you don't. If you saw, here's something you can watch to help you out. The only ones you really need to see in any way, obviously, Next Generation, and a little bit of Voyager. Like Voyager helps because 7 and 9's in it.
Yes.
Right, and there's every once in a while there's a little Easter egg in that when each comes in for an episode. You find out what happens to him, things like that, and then the ending, which I won't spoil. You bring in most of the Next Generation characters again, and it's like you were saying, right? Data's back in, and it's like okay, everybody's back again. Season 2.
Yes.
I'm excited for. I like it. I'm looking forward to it.
Q.
You got Q, who is
I've heard
probably, and I was going to ask this question next, like, who's your favorite character? He's one of my favorite characters, even though he's like one of the most annoying characters.
Which
Q,
makes him great.
and John Delancey is being the best of the Q, because obviously the Q is a continuum, and there's a ton of them, but he's my favorite Q as well, and he looks stellar. He looks amazing.
Oh my
like
God.
he looks really good.
Really?
Yeah, he looks really cool in this episode. Like way better than he's ever looked before. The one thing I saw online which kind of bothered me is they've talked about the fact that the Borg Queen's back in it. Like, you're leaving nothing for surprise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even the ending.
See, that's why
you know
I
what
keep
I mean?
myself absolutely in the dark. I don't even know where to look.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
I mean,
like-
you know,
I look
because
at
of the podcast and
nothing.
whatever. Like my Facebook and my Instagram feed is constant
Guess what?
entertainment stuff.
Mine
So it's just gonna
is
pop up.
not.
You know, this person
I
is now doing the
simply
Borg Queen. Like,
Don't know anything.
it's
The only
tough.
times I actually get spoilers for anything is when I'm here.
Yeah, pretty much when I start ranting and rambling. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so that was a little aggravating. That I'm like, okay, I would love to have some kind of a surprise. I think the ending of season 1 was a nice, had some nice surprises to it that they didn't reveal that they were gonna do.
Yeah.
It's like now we're just like, all right, we're gonna throw it all up against the wall and look, the Borg Queen's back. Like, okay,
Okay.
all right,
Okay,
it'd be
Thanks
nice
for
to.
letting us know.
Yeah, thanks for telling me the whole plot line of the entire second season. So anyway, okay, so I won't go too much into Picard because y'all haven't seen it yet.
But I can kind of get the idea from the phrase Borg Queen.
Yeah. So all right, so who's your favorite character, Eleanor?
Oh my
Like
God.
of all of Star Trek?
Yeah, all of Star Trek. Let's go. You can trail it down by series if you want to. That's fine too.
Wow. Okay. The first that comes to mind is Jadzia Dax from Deep Space Nine. She is just so like cool and like interesting and smart. Like the way that they do the trill in Deep Space Nine is like so cool, where they like have multiple lifetimes of memory like within one person. The fact that Cisco calls her old man as their like friendly term of endearment. I just like everything about Jadzia Dax is like so interesting and unique and funny and cool. She's so imaginative as a character. Just like the speculative of speculative fiction is really there with her. And then I also, from TNG, I love Dr. Crusher. I think just like any scene in Next Gen, any episode that has Dr. Crusher in it just like sparkles. She just has like a presence that just like lights up the screen. I just love to see Dr. Crusher. I'm a little mad that they made a whole nother show about Picard, but have not made a whole show about Dr. Crusher, like captaining a medical ship, which she did in the finale of Next Gen.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like, please make a whole show about Dr. Crusher. Yeah, that's what I'd say. That's what I'd say for now.
Okay.
And B'Elanna Torres. I also love B'Elanna Torres.
Yes.
I love B'Elanna Torres.
Yeah, she's
Yes,
one of my
yes,
favorites. She's one of my
yes,
favorites
yes,
from that series.
Yes.
Absolutely. Mila, 2 series to pull from. Who do you got?
All right. So from what little I've seen of Deep Space Nine so far, I think Quark's my favorite from there, because he's just like, I had never seen any other dimension from Ferengi other than, oh boy, I can't wait to find out how like cheesy these guys are from Next Generation. But like seeing Quark and his, what is it, his nephew?
Yeah,
I still don't remember.
his brother and his nephew.
Yeah, like see, like so far what I've seen, I'm actually seeing like other sides to Ferengi. Like
Yes.
they actually have emotions other than deceit.
Yes, it's so good.
I think he's like fascinating to watch. So I think Quark from Deep Space Nine, from what I've seen so far.
It will, if you continue to watch Deep Space Nine, that will only become more true.
Yeah, okay, good. From Next Generation, I feel like this one might be like, oh really, like just like kind of overdone, but I really like Data.
Everyone loves Data.
I know everyone likes Data, but the thing is, there's a reason why everyone likes Data.
You're right.
Because it's like, it's so fascinating to see, because like you've seen some parts before where it's like a robot becomes human, but with Data you just see all the intricacies of like, it's not just being nice to people and like just being a human. It's like the little things, like music and like even hearing him like that one, I don't remember, it was like this one kid that kept asking questions like, why do you sweat? Why do you blink? You don't have to breathe.
Right.
Like it's even intricacies like that, like dreaming.
Yes.
Why do we dream? and like just so many fascinating things.
Yeah.
To watch him like force himself to do these things, to learn, which people in general should do.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Whether it be figuratively or literally, put themselves in situations that are tough for them to see how other people live. And that's essentially what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
He's putting himself in situations to see how other people handle it.
There's one quote or like scene that I always remember where Data's like, he puts on like a violin concerto or whatever, and he's like, oh, all I did was like I mixed, these two styles, and Picard is like, but that's creativity. Like, you took the best things of both of these, like, artists that you admire, and you recombined them and made them something new. Like, that's doing art.
So
like, that's being human. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I just, like, that really, like, stuck with me. Just, like, that's what I mean about TNG having, like, a really big heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next Gen has such a big heart. I was watching with a friend, and they said, like, it takes feelings really seriously.
Yes.
Like, a Next Generation,
Yeah.
like, everyone's feelings are taken so seriously, and it's, like, so cool.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. And it's also seeing Data's growth. Like, from the first season, like, his, like, big episode was, like his trial on is he even, like, sentient or not.
Yes,
what
Yeah,
counts
because
as
does he have
sentience?
rights?
Yeah.
Does he have enough rights to choose for himself?
Right.
And then it slowly grows. Like, it's not fast. It's like a slow growth, a slow learning.
Yes. Yeah.
Until, like, eventually, like, he also has that, like, he has a kid in that one episode where, like, and she can feel, and he's like he loves her even though he can't feel it and stuff like that. It's just
I mean, to have that
gorgeously
character on there for
done.
7 seasons that you can completely grow with the entire time, plus movies, and it was never treated like, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to explore Data exploring for an episode or two, or even for just a season, and then we're going to move on. I mean, it was a thread through the entire series and the movies.
Yeah.
Then when he installed the chip where he could laugh and the humor, basically the humor chip, you know what I mean? Then it started malfunctioning during the movie. During First Contact. No, not First Contact. Generations, excuse me.
Yes.
Right? Like, that was interesting. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I love it. We'll get to the movies in a minute.
Yes.
Definitely get to the
It's
movies.
so fascinating. I love it.
Yeah. I'd have to go with Data, although for some reason, like, Geordi sticks with me.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh my gosh,
I
oh my
really
gosh,
like
yes.
Geordi. I love Geordi from the
You
Next
have to
Gen.
love
I mean, I
Geordi.
love Picard.
I love his.
He's, you know what I mean? Picard's a great leader for me. You know what I mean? Where he's,
Geordi and Data's like
their whole
oh
thing.
my
Their
god,
friendship,
their
their
whole
broship
thing.
was
oh my
just,
god,
like,
their
really-
whole like
The Next Generation just has such, like, phenomenal characters.
yeah.
Although I think Deanna Troi could have been a little better.
Oh,
Like, I loved
I'm
her
not going to let Amy
potential.
listen to this part of that because she is all about Amy
I
being a
love Deanna
counselor,
Troi. I
Amy
like
being
Deanna
a
Troi.
therapist.
I like what Deanna
loves,
Troi could have been.
Yeah.
Because it feels like they kept almost getting to a point where she was...
Mila, can I tell you a secret?
Yes.
The writers of Next Gen just didn't like women that much.
You could,
Oh,
you
you know
could
what?
feel it.
That's fair.
The
You
Next
could-
Gen writers simply did not like women
But, like,
that much,
could
and it
they
shows in their
absolutely
writing.
feel it.
Beverly. They kind of killed it with
They
Beverly.
sure did.
But they just didn't kill it
Yeah,
with
until they
Deanna.
kicked her off for a season,
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
and they had to bring her
Almost
back because the
doing
fans
Deanna
were
Troi
losing their
good.
mind.
And then they pull back a little bit.
Deanna Troi.
They could have made her
she does
so
have
much
some really
more.
good episodes. She does have some really good episodes, but it's rare. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
it's
she
so-
absolutely, they could have used her
Because
a lot
everybody
more.
has
She's,
episodes, but she gets like 3.
remind me,
at
is there any
once.
other ship's counselor or counselor necessary on any of the other
I
series?
haven't
don't
seen
think
any.
so.
You know what
It's
I mean?
just
It is-
Deanna.
it's doctors, but not necessarily
Yes,
counselors.
yeah.
So she's the only one on there, and maybe one of the reasons that the show is such feelings based.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
You have a feelings person right there. Like, you
Yes,
have
yeah.
to utilize that.
I just like
and,
it.
they explored that constantly.
feel
Like,
like-
I like her, but she just could have been so much
I
more.
agree.
That's how I think about her. Like, she was never annoying. She was never like something that I'm like, oh, Deanna. But I liked Deanna. I just wish they did more with her.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think they did some,
Yes,
but
Yeah.
not enough. Definitely not enough for that character.
I've-
Especially where she's, like I said, the only counselor ever on one of the shows.
Yeah,
Especially
and
the
that's-
fact that she's an empath.
Yeah.
Like, they could do stuff with that.
Yes,
But they just always, like, they would explore, but then they'd pull back just when it could get deeper.
Yeah.
they like philosophically blue-balled you every time.
Yeah, pretty much.
with the Deanna Troi stuff. Yeah.
I like that. That was just as dirty as they meant it. Just in case you wonder.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
All right. Awesome. Fantastic. All right, so let's talk a little bit. We're about 30 minutes in, so let's start
Okay.
talking about some movies.
All right.
Talk some Star Trek movies. Mila, we'll start with you because I have a feeling I
I've
know the answer to
seen-
this.
yeah.
Which ones? How many or which ones have you seen?
2 of the original series movies.
That's okay.
Two.
Which
This
ones
is
have you
so
seen?
I
important.
watched the first ever movie,
Amazing.
which was like
Amazing.
I liked it, but it was like
So good.
very abstract.
You mean the original motion picture?
Oh my god.
Yeah, the original.
Mila.
motion
Isn't that
picture.
funny? Because most people tout it as the worst thing ever put on film.
That's the
love
thing.
The
For me,
motion
it was
picture.
very abstract,
Yep.
Yes.
but
that's
like it just it was okay.
this simple feeling is beyond features comprehension.
It's like how I felt about 2000.
A little louder so we can all hear you.
That
was perfect.
Simple feeling. Oh,
It's like how I thought about 2001: A Space Odyssey. I was like, wow, that's very
Yeah.
cool, very abstract. Moving on.
It's really like the motion picture is such an emotional story. Like the motion picture. Okay, here's the story of the motion picture to me. Kirk and Spock broke up from their stint together on the Enterprise, and Spock went back to Vulcan and tried to have no feelings. He tried to purge all
Yeah,
his
suppress his
feelings.
human
But
side.
he came back, and like Kirk is trying to fill the hole that Spock left in his life with a new first officer, and then Spock comes back into his life, and he just like doesn't know how to deal with it. It's a very
I love how close they are.
it's a very like
heartwarming.
it's a very like emotion, like it's truly about like their emotions. But you're right, it's
Yeah.
very abstract.
very
abstract.
It's simply not like action cinema.
Yeah,
Right.
It is simply
Which
not
I think
action
what really
cinema.
people butted up
I
against when they were
absolutely-
seeing it. Yeah.
I love the relationship between Kirk and Spock.
Oh my
It's
god.
just so much
It's
more.
so deep.
Like they literally
and
just like
profound.
cannot go on.
They
without each
can't
other.
live without each other. They literally cannot live without each other. It's
Like there's
so
without
good.
like one without the other. It's like something's missing.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're
yes,
definitely
Like you
not
yes.
complete
see
without each
Kirk,
other.
and it's like without Spock.
But where's
it's
Spock?
like yeah, life's good, I guess.
Absolutely.
But where's Spock? I remember.
And it's the same as Spock. It's like yeah, stuff's good.
Then they
on
had to
Vulcan,
search for him.
Yes, but like
Oh my god. Yes. Okay, so you saw the motion picture. What's the
yes,
other one?
and
you've
then I
seen?
saw the other one, the one just before Looking for Spock. I can't remember.
The-
what it's
Wrath of
called.
Khan.
The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, I loved that one.
So good.
I never thought they would bring back Khan.
Yeah.
I thought he was just
yeah.
one of those throwaway characters.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, this guy Khan.
Yeah.
I really liked that one. That one was good.
That's like the Star Trek movie. That's like
That was the first one
original
I saw. Like
series,
I hadn't
yeah.
seen the original one until much later. Wrath of
Yeah.
Khan was like one of the first ones I ever
That
saw.
one was
Yeah,
good.
that's
That one
like
was really
that's
good.
the original series movie that everyone says is like the best.
It's
My
like an aging
The
Kirk
creepiest one with those little
comes
earwig things,
back.
but I'm not gonna go there.
The what?
When he puts the things in their ears,
Oh my
like,
God,
that was that
yes.
freaked me out because as a
Oh my
kid when I
gosh.
watched that, it was
Yes.
just like that freaked
Yeah,
me
yeah,
out,
yeah.
and still does to this day because it's a memory from a childhood that
Yes.
I can't stand thinking
Yeah, yeah,
about,
yeah.
and it's still so I skip by that scene if I
Just
have to
add
watch
as
it again.
videos.
Search for
Yes.
Spock.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like Search for
I
Spock.
haven't
do?
seen
Talk
Search,
to me.
Search for Spock, but I want to see it.
It's really it's listen, if you think Kirk and Spock can't live without each other, just
Yeah.
wait till you watch Search for Spock.
Yep. What he
It's
goes
truly-
through.
It's truly just Kirk being like, screw Starfleet, screw my career, screw everything. I'm gonna break every single rule to find
Yeah.
Spock.
Yes.
Oh my god, I love that.
It's just
so
great.
much.
Yep.
It's just wonderful. And Bones is also fantastically
Oh my
funny
gosh,
in
I
that
forgot.
movie.
I love Bones.
Yes.
Bones
Bones
is just
great.
fantastically funny in Search for Spock.
Oh.
Like the role they give Bones in Search for Spock
Yeah.
is incredible. It's
And he
so
was.
good.
He's like one of the driest characters. He's one of
Yes.
the
But
funniest.
he's
Oh, absolutely.
my
Do you know what I
God,
mean?
He's
His, you know,
absolutely gold.
And he really
Yes.
is. He's meant
He
to
does
be dry, but
everything
it's a
so,
dry
like,
humor.
yes.
You're right. Everything he does and says is so dry, but there's just he's so funny.
He's always just so
He's
aggravated and
funny.
pissed off,
He's like,
but he's really funny
Yes.
when he
I
does
suppose.
it. Yeah.
I guess I'm just out here in space. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
seems like he wants to be there.
Search
he doesn't
for-
ever seem like
I'm
he
gonna
wants to
tell
be
you
there.
that's a bad idea, and you're gonna go,
And you're not
yeah,
gonna
but,
listen.
and I'm gonna be like, fine, I guess.
And you're not gonna listen. So.
So I guess I'll come with.
Yes.
So now one of the
Yes.
first, this is weird, this little side note, one of the first videotapes we ever owned in
Yes.
my house was Star Trek 4, this is The Voyage Home.
Oh, that's a good
It's one of the
one.
first
Yeah,
videotapes
we've
we ever
already done
that.
purchased
Oh, only two
and
that's
brought
a
into our home.
good
Like
one.
videotapes became actually affordable and they weren't like $900
Yes,
for one.
yes.
Right? It was actually like $20 or whatever it was. It was the first one we ever purchased. And that's still one of my, maybe because that was like the first videotape. I've watched it so many times.
Yeah.
It's still one of my favorite original Next Gen movies. And
One
it
of
was
the
it was
whales.
it was yeah, it was different, right? It was, you know,
It was
I
so
like those
different.
episodes where they go back to Earth. not just like in the past, which I think is even more fun.
Yes,
they
yes,
travel
yes.
back in time and they go to Earth now. But I like those. They did that in Voyager, right? They went back in time at one point to Earth and Los Angeles, and those are still some of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, those
from
are
that
so
series.
much fun.
You know what I mean? Like, so that Voyage Home was definitely one of my favorites. The other ones after that, like just the Undiscovered Country, like those kind of blur for me a little bit.
How many movies did the original series have? Because
So
I feel like there were a lot, and I don't know.
There
if
were a
I've
lot,
watched
yeah.
There are
them.
6.
Yeah.
I
How
will
many
say
should I watch?
the only one that
Well, I mean, what are you doing
think
with your life? Watch
is
them all.
not worth
I will.
watching.
No.
The only one that I would say is like truly skippable, and I still enjoy it because there are still some fun scenes, is the 5th one that Shatner directed. It's kind of muddled. It's kind of got a space Jesus plot. It's
What's it
sort of
called?
weird.
The Undiscovered Country.
Undiscovered Country,
Oh.
yes. 6, that's the one with the Klingons. The one with the Klingons is really good.
It's so funny how much the Klingons got to glow up.
It's
Final
great.
Frontier.
Oh
The
my
first time I saw
Right?
god.
the
5 is
Klingons-
the Final Frontier.
Okay, yeah, Final
Oh.
Frontier. That's the weird space Jesus one.
Yes, and Undiscovered Country is
it's
the,
just it's just
Undiscovered
the-
Country is the Klingon one.
That
where,
one's great.
yeah,
So
they're accused
honestly,
of.
I think
yeah.
Final Frontier is the only one that's like really skippable because like
I agree.
Undiscovered Country, there's a lot of like very good like diplomatic Klingon stuff. I love diplomacy. I love Star Trek
I love
diplomacy.
Which I think is a
diplomacy
lot of
stuff.
people's like struggle with Star Trek. People try to get
love
into
it.
Star Trek. There's a whole Trek versus wars.
Yes.
I want my
Yeah.
wars. I want shooting, banging,
Yeah.
bang, bang, shoot them. Whereas
bang,
Star
shoot,
Trek
bang.
is so much diplomacy and just endless boardroom meetings
Can I
and
read
talking.
the tweet? Can
Go
I
for
read
it.
the tweet
read
now?
that tweet.
Okay.
This is a
So
perfect time.
this is my favorite tweet about Star Trek. This is what I love about Star Trek. We're talking about diplomacy. Who is it? Moe Mock on Twitter. It says, Star Trek is obsessed with debating the ethics of shit you've never even heard of. Shit you've never even considered. If a guy makes an inside-out nuclear bomb and only uses it on beetles he teleports in from the future, should he get the chair? And they spend 3 episodes on this.
Yes. That is Star Trek in a
Star
tweet.
Trek.
That's exactly
And
right.
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it can be amazing. You have to settle it back and be like, okay, and you have to be right for it. You know what I mean? You have to be ready for that. The fact that it's not just going to go out there in big wars and things like that. They actually have to, solve things a different way. Heaven forbid.
Like it really
Yeah.
follows. Getting into some of the sci-fi history stuff, it really follows a different sort of tradition of science and speculative fiction. There's kind of this idea isn't really given that much like respect anymore, but there's kind of this idea of like hard science fiction versus soft science fiction, and so like quote unquote hard sci-fi is about like quote unquote hard sciences or like chemistry, physics, molecular biology, stuff like that, and quote unquote soft science is like sociology and anthropology. And so, like, soft science fiction is sort of interested... Diplomacy, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, soft science fiction kind of follows the, what if is, what if this culture were completely different from, anything that our culture has ever seen? I think the best example I can think of is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin, published in, I think, 1968, so very concurrently with the original series. And the what if of that is what if there was a planet where there was absolutely no gender and someone from Earth came to that planet and had to interact with the people who lived on that planet? And Star Trek does a lot of the same thing with okay, what if there was an alien race whose culture was completely focused on, in the case of the Klingons, fighting, or in the case of the Vulcans, logic? What would that culture look like, and how would humans interact with those people? It's just it's always been my favorite part of Star Trek, and I feel like it's hard for people who are into the quote unquote harder science fiction because it's not action cinema, but it's still very speculative in terms of what would a completely different culture from our own look like, and you get to look at the weird parts of your own culture and be like, oh, it's actually kind of weird that we do this in this way. Aliens would probably think we're pretty weird for doing stuff like that. So that's my rant.
That's pretty much
That's my rant.
Yeah, I
That's
like
the
that.
idea. Yeah, it's just such a because you see so many shows that are sci-fi or movies that are so sci-fi like Star Wars or Doctor Who, and there's action everywhere, every way you turn.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on. But Star Trek, yes, it has action, but it's it's so much. It gets so much deeper.
Yeah.
And that was Roddenberry's sort of original
Yes.
idea behind
Yeah.
it. We're going to explore different parts of essentially humanity by looking at aliens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Which is what they're doing
More
constantly.
discovering of yourself from looking at
Yes.
like observing
Exactly.
others.
Exactly right. So, all right. So we talked about now next generation movies.
Oh.
We have
I really wanna
Generations,
see those. I haven't
then
seen
First
any.
Contact,
Yes.
right? And then Insurrection, which was again much like the other one. It's very not don't bother watching. That was one where they had to relocate the people from one planet to another because the ones whose faces had to keep being pulled back as they were basically dying when they owned that planet essentially. And they're trying to relocate. Yeah, you're looking at me really confused because it was a really
I
horrible.
definitely watched this movie.
Yeah,
and
and
I
it was-
don't remember any of this
Because it's essentially, I think Jonathan
Exactly,
Frakes,
that's
I
the point.
believe Frakes directed this one, and not that he hasn't done others, and he's done well, but it was like a long episode. It felt like a long episode. Production quality felt like a long episode.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Maybe even a Deep Space Nine. You know, obviously technology-wise, you know, it was a little bit better than the original. You know, than even Next Gen series, but still, it just felt like that.
Yes.
There wasn't really much to go on this one. It really didn't have much feel to it. So yeah, I think that one's my least favorite is Insurrection.
Yeah.
Because it's super forgettable as a movie. I'm sure they would like to as well. I'd be surprised if
this.
Yeah.
First Contact was definitely like good action cinema,
Mm-hmm.
but I just remember at the end of it being like, that didn't feel like Star Trek to me. I just remember
very
like
action cinema.
finishing First Contact and being like, I guess I don't know, like I liked I kind of wish they had spent more time like in the past, like on the actual like First Contact lore.
Yeah.
Because I think the scene where like he shakes hands with the Vulcan for the first time or whatever, like that's really fun.
Yes.
But like I don't know, the Borg stuff was like, okay, I guess Picard's an action hero now.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, and it is Borg, so we're
Cool.
gonna have a lot of Borg in it. We need Borg.
Where's
They're the
Q?
selling point. Yep. Yeah, that's one thing that drove me crazy about the
Where's
movies. That's what drove. There's no Q in any of the movies. That kind
In
of.
any of the movies?
There's not in any of the
That's
movies.
such a miss.
It is a huge
There's
miss.
no
You're exactly
Q.
right. Until they rebooted, right, and they started doing the new
They
stuff.
could have made like a Q movie.
They should have
They
made a
could
Q
make a
movie.
movie out of
They're
that.
essentially doing that now with Picard for season
Yeah.
2. It's like a long.
That's
Right by the time it's
they're
all
just
done, by the
now
time that
doing
second
or
season's done,
something.
it's
I
more
didn't
than a
know
movie's
that.
worth of
Now I
length.
do. Now I'm mad.
It's
honestly,
a huge miss.
like, hey, it saves you the time of going into the movies watching like I want to see some Q, and then you don't get to see
Yeah,
Q.
never.
This is
Never.
It's so sad.
So
It's so
angry.
Because then they moved
sad.
on. I thought they moved on from next gen movies really
Guinan.
fast.
They did. Oh
You
my
know,
God,
but-
that's true. They should have had Guinan in the
I
movies.
really wish they went over Guinan. Literally,
She was in Generations quickly.
Yeah, I know.
She was in Generations when
Next
they
Generation,
transferred
she
over.
was just there.
They
She
needed
was
more
so
Guinan.
cool, and they never explained what she was.
Yes, they do.
When?
Essentially, in Generations, the movie.
Okay, I was like,
She was on the original
talking about
ship
the show, yeah.
that Kirk saves by killing himself when the ribbon hits the ship. She's one of the passengers on the
Okay,
original
yes,
ship.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
they tell her
yeah.
like what planet she was
Yes.
from, and that they were leaving her planet. I think
Oh,
political
yeah.
or why they were
See,
leaving. But
at least they didn't sleep
Yeah.
on Guinan in the movie.
yeah, so she was in Generations.
I'm glad
movie.
they went over Guinan.
Yeah,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
I
I
thought
still
was
don't know
well
anything
done,
about Guinan,
but
but
I agree
I'm glad
she
they
should have been
did.
more.
She should have been way more. Just like every time she interacts with Q in the show is so freaking funny.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
When she stabs his hand with a fork.
Yep.
God.
It was
Great.
good, and I love
So cool.
her interactions with Picard. Like, you know
Oh
what I mean?
my
It's
God,
like
yeah.
she's his, guidance
Yes,
almost.
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
she's
Yeah,
his sounding
she's
board.
his
She's
counselor.
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I thought they could have explored that a lot more when
Yeah.
it came to the movies. Even
Yes,
they
yes,
definitely
yes,
needed
yes.
it. But they had, they did Insurrection. They did Nemesis, which I thought again, we lose Data in that one. I just thought that was kind of a throwaway. It was, you know what I mean? And not just because they killed off the character who we all love. That was kind of like, 'cause, essentially at that point he didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But now he's back for Picard, so
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess you changed your mind, but you screwed us on that, so
Yes.
you killed off the character, but you're back. Okay, fine. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of a weird, and it was supposed to be his son. That was
It's just
it was just
strange.
very
Strange
convoluted.
data
It was a
decisions.
really convoluted
Weird
way.
data decisions.
It
made.
was. Well, what's his name? The Talos, whatever his name was, the one that was
Yeah.
basically fighting them was Picard's son in some way, right? Like it's his
Weird.
DNA that made
There
a
was an
kid.
episode like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Yeah, and they made it
he
a
might
movie.
be his son, and I thought that was going to be really cool. And then at the end of the episode, they go, Just kidding.
Just kidding. It was
but
Mephisto.
They could have been so good together. And
It
then
was
nah.
It was Mephisto. So
It was Mephisto again.
a callback to another episode. So yeah, eventually they made it into a movie, and it just didn't do that well either. You know what I mean? I really didn't appreciate that one so much.
Did they at the end they go? Just kidding.
Just kidding.
See, I feel like the problem with the next gen movies is that next gen is an ensemble cast.
Yep.
In a next generation episode, you have at least 2 storylines for 1 hour of television. So, like in a next gen episode, you have Picard and Riker and Troy are on one mission, and then Data and Crusher and Worf are on another, and you have like maybe Geordi is doing some stuff too. So you have 3 plots for 1 hour of television.
Yep.
But movies like don't tend to do really well with, like, as a culture, we have not figured out how to write ensemble movies.
Yep.
What will I say did this well? Star Trek Into Darkness? No. Yes? Into Darkness?
Maybe.
Star Trek Beyond? No. Into Darkness was the one that I didn't like. Star Trek Beyond.
I thought that one was like
Star Trek Beyond was a very good ensemble movie.
Yes.
One of the new ones with
Chris
Pine and Quinto.
Yeah.
That was a good ensemble movie, but like for next gen, they hadn't quite figured out, or they didn't get a writer who knew how to write ensemble films. And just like Picard is not an action movie hero. Riker is not an action movie hero.
No.
They are like members of an ensemble cast.
Yeah.
So like I feel like the cast couldn't really shine in a movie because you only get to focus on like a couple of characters, and that's not next gen.
Right.
We don't like next gen just because of Picard.
Right.
It's because of Picard and his relationship with everybody else on the show.
Yeah. I agree.
I have a question. Are there
Yes.
any good next generation movies that I should watch, or should I just kind of not watch?
No, I think the first 2 are definitely watched. Generations is still my favorite. I like
Generations
First
is
Contact as an action movie.
Yes.
Less than a Star Trek movie.
Yes.
But Generations was I thought
Generations
personally it was
is
a
good.
well done handoff.
I agree.
They had
I
to
agree.
hand off from original to
Yes.
next gen. I
Yes.
thought it was well done. Just like any movie, there's some things that could be better, but I think overall, I
Yes.
love watching. I'll watch that movie over and over
Yes.
again. To me, that's a barometer for me. Will I watch it again? If it's
Generations.
on TV, will I keep it on or
Yes.
bypass it? And I'll watch that every single time, no matter what part I start in on.
Yes.
I'll watch it. It's a good
Noted.
movie.
I'll put that on my Star Trek movies and media
Yes.
that I should
Yes.
actually watch.
Yeah,
instead of
Generations is definitely there for me.
Watching all
First
of
Contact
everything.
because it is kind of fun if you like the action part of it, but the rest of them you can skip.
Okay.
First Contact has
That's
good,
disappointing
has good
because
lore.
it's such a good
Yeah.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the movies are like
they just didn't live up to them. It just
Yeah.
did. The movies did not, especially the later ones, did not live up to the show at all.
Yeah.
It did not do the show justice. Like
I'm
you said.
glad because I would have watched them.
Yeah, and now you can save yourself the time.
Going, maybe the next one will be good.
Did you see
but
the new
there's, like, a
versions
million of them.
with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto?
Oh.
You haven't seen those yet. Okay.
No.
See, Star Trek
I
2009.
just looked at those and knew like J.J. Abrams like directed
Yeah.
them, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, they like rebooted characters we already know but with different actors.
Yes.
Okay.
And then at one point you bring back Leonard
Yes,
Nimoy
yes,
to talk to
yes.
Zachary Quinto.
Yes.
So they actually said they're talking to each other.
Yeah,
'cause he went and
it's-
got like Future
Oh.
Spock. Future Spock came back to talk to his younger self.
It's,
essentially.
there's a
Was
lot
that
of weird, like, alternate
good?
universe.
Because I know
nonsense.
J.J. Abrams always kind of, it's like not even hit or miss. It's like, yeah, that was good.
It's sure a J.J. Abrams movie. So
It's
I
Well,
actually,
to
I
me,
got
it felt like he
into-
was doing it to just get his job to do Star Wars. Like
Yes.
that first one especially was like it was
was
almost like his
his cover
resume.
letter. Yeah, it was his cover
this is what I'm
letter,
gonna
let me
do
do
for
Star
Star Wars,
Wars.
so I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
he
it to
keeps-
this
he
movie.
keeps kinda
So
doing
much
stuff
so
in
that
like,
R2D2 makes an appearance.
Really?
If you go in, it's really there.
Oh my
At one point in the
God.
beginning, the very beginning of the movie, when
When the ship
older,
is- Yeah.
Father Kirk, whatever,
Yeah.
the ships and everything blow up.
Yeah.
R2 comes spinning through as part of the rubble.
That is.
I'm not even kidding you. It's out
Are
there.
you kidding
If you
me?
yes, I'll show you a screenshot. It's the R2's in there, literally flying
That's
away in
cheap.
the rubble. It
I
really
know
exactly. I
only
agree.
one thing that
As someone who
J.J.
loves
Abrams
Star
made
Wars,
that
it's like,
I
oh, that's
actually
kind of
enjoy.
cool. But like when you're just focusing on Star Trek, you're like, what the hell? Why did I
It's
just
like,
see R2
I-
come
that's
flying through my
like-
screen?
The one thing
It's
I
very
did-
hard to
yeah.
see, but if you pause it, like obviously with technology
Yeah.
now, you can
And
see
you
it's a
go,
lot clearer.
oh my gosh, look.
And there's R2 floating by as rubble.
Yeah.
It's a little
So
weird.
I did get into Star Trek through watching Star Trek 2009. I like watched it in math class or something because the teacher was like, I don't want to teach today.
Yep.
We watched Star Trek
That's
2009.
fair.
I love teachers like
I
that.
enjoyed it. I have a soft spot in my heart for it. I also do have a soft spot in my heart for Chris Pine's Kirk. I think he plays a really good Kirk.
Yeah.
I thought Quinto did a
Quinto
good
does
job.
a great Spock.
I like
oh
him
my
and he
God.
was an actor.
Really?
The casting.
Yeah, he does.
Quinto does a great Spock.
He
yeah,
does as a
he's
younger
a
Spock.
fantastic
Yeah.
Spock.
He's pretty spot on.
Oh, he's great.
You know.
Yeah, he does
Oh,
a
wow.
great Spock.
So should I see those just because like
They're
like the
fun
first one
movies.
or Yeah,
they're fun.
Skip into
They're fun?
darkness.
Okay.
Skip into darkness.
Yeah,
It's
with the con
complete-
thing.
it's
When I
complete-
love
it's
Benedict
so
Cumberbatch, but I
cheap.
thought it was just kind of
It's
like
so cheap.
he was. I don't, and I loved Benedict Cumberbatch, but I don't think he was a good con. Yeah, and
Con
not to say
comes back
that.
again.
Yeah, but it's their con. You know,
What?
Isn't that
You're
such-
kidding me.
right?
That's
Yeah.
such a bad casting
From
choice.
Ricardo Montalban to Benedict.
and I like Benedict Cumberbatch. I like
As
his Sherlock
Khan?
Holmes.
Right?
I
That's
like
like-
his. I
he's-
like his
he's-
Doctor Strange.
Like I'm looking at Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I'm
weird.
looking at Sherlock Holmes. They both kind of give off like a specific Benedict Cumberbatch energy.
Not Con.
Yeah,
That
and he
fits.
does the same thing
Khan?
in this, but it's not
Really?
useful for that character.
That's like
Yeah.
It's
that's
just-
bad. That's
and
not good.
They
Does not
basically-
service
they
the character very
basically
well.
Just like redid Wrath of Khan, but like flipped it. They
But with,
flipped
like, a
some
new
things
cast.
around. It was very cheap.
That's
Yeah, because that's
really-
essentially what they're doing is almost
I
rebooting
don't
with
like
a very
that.
similar
Yeah.
story arcs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's a slight
Yeah.
shift in what happens
Yeah,
and how
yeah,
things
yeah.
come about. But it's essentially almost like the same things are
Kirk
going to
rather
happen.
than Spock in the getting behind the glass at the end.
Yeah.
They
Are
flip
you
that
kidding me?
around. Yeah,
They even do that?
They flip that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
They flip that. Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
it take off? I
I
can't
know.
remember.
I know.
I
It's
can't
so
remember.
cheap.
They made that and we're like, yeah, this is the best movie ever.
And
Release
nobody got
it.
fired. That's the
Like,
bad part. Nobody got
They,
fired
like
from that.
iconic scene behind the glass.
They
the
just
hands
flipped it?
behind
Yeah.
the glass.
They
just
even did the
flipped
hands
it.
I can't remember.
I know.
Did he take off the oven mitt? I don't remember if he takes off the mitt.
I don't know.
God, that's
Yeah,
awful.
in the
That's
original,
actually
he does take off
so
the
much
oven
worse.
mitt. He does the
He
Vulcan
just
salute
look
through
into
the
the spot.
glass,
Yeah,
yeah.
do the
That's
Vulcan.
so bad.
That iconic.
Oh my God.
It's so cheap.
It's
Wow.
literally like that's the
Cheap one.
epitome of
That's
we ran
so
out of
bad.
ideas.
It's so cheap.
It
It's
is.
so cheap.
That's why you can
Run out of
you can
ideas.
feel free to
Let's literally
skip that
just
one.
Yeah.
remake this entire
But-
movie.
Star Trek Beyond, like I
Beyond?
said, the third one with Pine and Quinto,
Yeah.
is like they figured out how to do an ensemble movie. Like it's a
Oh.
really fun
Yeah.
movie. It's
I
like it's
love
on
Carl
an alien
Urban.
planet.
I love Carl Urban as Bones.
Yes,
I
yes,
thought
yes,
he
yes.
did a really
yeah,
good-
Oh,
he does a
they,
really-
oh yeah,
yeah.
so they must have like redid like
Everybody.
the whole cast.
Yes.
Like,
The
who
entire
were,
cast is
Was
rebooted.
Uhura there? Was
Yes,
Yes.
she was Zoe Saldana.
Zoe
what's
Saldana.
her name?
Yep.
The other one, the Asian one. I can't remember his
Wow.
name.
Sulu?
Sulu.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
my God, I knew it began with a T, but it didn't.
George
Wasn't it?
Takei. Is
Yeah,
who you were
George
thinking of.
Takei.
You're
Yes.
thinking of George Takei.
Yes. Yeah. Did they bring Sulu in there too?
Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah, he's
I
in
Is
there.
love
it
Sulu.
John Cho, I believe?
Yes, it's
is
John
his
Cho.
name? John Cho, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that's so cool. They like
Yeah.
brought like an entirely new cast, but like the
Yes.
same characters. That's
Yes,
actually
yes,
kinda
yes,
neat.
yes. It is pretty neat. Yeah, and they definitely like the cast. It's so even the new movies kind of follow the Star Trek tradition of like the writers are kind of like writers and producers are like what, but the actors are all like very
They're on
deeply
it.
devoted.
Yeah.
Like
I
think
love a good
I
deeply
think
devoted cast.
I think Carl Urban like wore a wedding ring like on the same hand that Bones had a wedding ring on, and like
Wow.
the same style. Like
Yeah.
they're
Oh,
just
wow.
like the actors are like very
Love good dedication.
big into Star Trek, and the actors like all really cared about it. You can see like Chris Pine just like does the same, like he sits the
Oh
same
my gosh,
way
yeah,
as
yeah,
William
yeah.
Shatner in
Yes.
the chair, and
Yeah,
he
the
like
whole, like,
he like bats his eyelashes in the same way as William
Oh my
Shatner.
gosh.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
they
so-
are
there's so many
basically-
subtleties
Amazing.
They're
there.
really
Yeah.
just essentially
Wow.
trying to be younger versions of the
Mhm.
original actors.
Wow.
You know,
That's like if they brought in a younger Riker and he was like standing on it like in
Yeah.
the chair
Yes,
with
yes.
one leg
With
on the
one leg
chair,
on,
and
yeah.
he's kind of leaning.
It's
against
like
it.
it's exactly what the actor for the Han Solo movie could not do.
oh god,
Right.
yeah, he did not do that very well.
It's
at
it's
all.
like if you were
He
if
tried.
you
They
were
just had
thinking,
someone in the same ship
yeah,
with
but
the same
but
name.
in
He tried to have
in
the
the
mannerisms.
new
he
movies,
tried.
like those actors, they were really like
they were on it.
They
Simon
knew-
Pegg,
They knew how
Simon
to do
Pegg
it.
as
Yes.
Scotty. Oh,
yeah.
Scotty!
Oh yeah, they
Oh my
they
God.
they
Yeah.
made Scotty great.
and
in the
Anton
new
Yelchin,
movies.
rest in peace.
Yes, yeah,
He played
yeah.
Chekhov.
He was a wonderful
Oh,
Chekhov.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was
Oh
a
my
really
gosh.
good Chekhov.
He
So
was
sad.
So yeah,
So
yeah.
sad.
That was
Yeah.
I feel like having him be like a very young ensign was like a very good interpretation of his original
Yes,
character.
That's
absolutely.
so cool.
Because Chekhov was
Oh my
always
gosh,
kind of like
this
that,
is so
especially in the
cool.
beginning. But even like
Yeah.
in some of the people that he seemed like that young guy.
Yes,
He was the
yes.
youngin, right?
Yeah,
he was the young guy.
Chekhov was definitely like the young.
Yes.
The young guy.
Yeah.
He didn't
Absolutely.
always look it.
No.
Especially by Voyage Home.
with the little bowl cut.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I love the
perfect for the
hairdos.
time.
Although honestly, that was very like teen poppy. Like the bowl cut was very teen pop for 1968. That's,
Oh sure, you
now
had like
that
the
I think about
Monkeys,
it.
Yeah, I
you
remember-
had the Beatles, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah,
that
even
vibe.
in
Yeah.
like
Going with it.
1966 Doctor Who, the second Doctor had that bowl cut.
Yep.
With the Beatles cut.
It was there.
Yeah.
Gotta have it somewhere.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. So we like those. Yeah, I would definitely go back and take a chance. At least go for the first one, and you're right, the third one. Skip the second one.
I'm like making a small
Altogether.
list of movies that I should and should not skip.
Well, I'm glad this podcast turned into what should Mila watch.
What should you watch?
Yeah.
Let's give
Yeah,
Mila a
because I've-
to-do
Because
list.
I've seen so, like in the grand scheme of things, so little of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But
I've
there's so
seen
much
like
Star
the
Trek.
essentials,
Yeah.
but there's so much more to see, which I definitely
Yes.
want to see.
Also, if you're having trouble like getting through a Star Trek series, my advice would be to just Google like best 25 episodes of like Deep Space Nine or best episodes
Right.
of
Do
Voyager,
like a best
and just
of.
like
Yeah.
watch the best episodes, because that way you'll get like, you know, you'll get into the best ones, and then you'll want to go back and like see the ones that are maybe
Yeah.
not the best.
That reminds
But
me
there's
of how
still
I
because
go
there are
through,
so many little nuggets in all those other episodes,
Yes.
little great
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah,
or
the thing is,
some
I
great
could
character
never
developments.
just skip and watch an episode. I have to watch the content. So something that got me through like some like Smallville was I would look up. So when does he get this power?
Yeah.
Because it'd be a solid ways away, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yes.
all right, like 7 episodes. All right, I'll watch 7 more episodes to get there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, when's the next one? All right, a season. I'm like, all right, I'll watch a season and more.
I
Like,
guess you
then I
have
got
to.
like,
Yep.
You have to now.
Like 3/4 of the show. That
All
way.
right, so that brings us to the next section, which is basically
Right.
favorites and least favorites,
Okay,
right?
here we
so
go.
you did favorite character.
Yes.
What's your least favorite character? I like to always
All
ask,
right.
like, who could you do without?
So, if William Riker never spoke a single word, he would be my favorite character.
Oh my God.
If
That's an
he,
awesome
if
take.
He, if he never spoke
Internet's
and just
crumbling all over the place.
and just stood in the background and grinned that shit-eating grin
With one
and
foot up on the
just-
chair.
and had the foot up on the chair, he would be my favorite character.
Oh, wow.
But just like I think Jonathan Frakes is a wonderful actor. He seems like such a wonderful and like warm person. But just as a written character, Riker was just absolutely wretched. I just like
Wow.
I could not stand him sometimes. Like
Yeah.
the way he spoke to Deanna was so rude and awful. No wonder they're not together anymore.
I always wonder if they do that on purpose.
like
Are you meant to not like this person that much?
Like,
you know what
I
mean? They're writing on
guess, but he
purpose.
was also like he was the captain's best friend and closest confidant. Like, I don't know. If he, like I said, if he never spoke, he'd
Yeah.
be my favorite character.
I
Can't,
love it.
can't stand Riker.
I love it.
I have to
Mila,
think a little deeper.
you
Yeah,
okay?
pass.
You're passing on that
Yeah,
one. All right,
toss
just tapping
it all
out.
over to you.
All right, so favorite storyline.
Oh.
We'll get to favorite episode in a second, but let's go to favorite storyline.
Oh my God, this is okay. Wow, let me think. Oh wow, this
It's
is a
been so
tricky one. Oh my God.
I'll start with mine on
Yeah.
Voyager.
Yes.
I like. There's two of them in particular I liked. I liked the Year of Hell. It was one of
yeah.
my favorite storylines. That and it was Year of Hell, and then there was so you had the two, right? One with the Herodians basically hunting them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And using the holodecks as that was really good. And then there was the Anarax one who was constantly
Yes.
trying to refit time to essentially bring back his wife.
Yeah.
And how Janeway basically is like, all right, screw it, I'm gonna take this ship and just barrel it right into his time ship, and then boom, everything's fine. And then boom, everything's fine. I thought that was awesome.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, those I'm so glad you mentioned those because those really stand out. Holy cow. Yeah.
The Herodians I loved. I didn't
Yes.
like the Kazons. They're just
they're kind of-
annoying
yeah.
to me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
the fact that they could do that much with so little, which I guess is like that's a story. Like that there's something to be said about that, right? Being able to accomplish so much with so little, like being
Yes.
oppressed, being,
Yes.
constantly having no access to things.
I know mine actually.
All right, go for
I
it.
just came up with mine. Okay.
Go ahead.
So the Rolaren storylines on Next Gen, her like arc, with like coming on the Enterprise and like kind of being combative with people, and then eventually
Yep.
like leaving the Enterprise because she believes in the Maquis more. I think I love the Rolaren storylines on Next Gen. I definitely see why she was such a fan favorite and why everyone wanted her to have her own show and why they brought her back as Major Kira in Deep Space Nine. Because, like, yeah, I also love the ending to that storyline because I think, like, it was just really, at least to me, it was one of the first times where we saw Picard be really wrong. Like, I thought that Picard made very bad choices in how he dealt with Ro in those episodes, and I thought that was very, like, after 7 seasons, like, finally, he's not just a moral paragon.
Right.
Like, so the Ro Laren storyline from Next Gen really sticks with me.
It can be tough when you watch a character who, like, seems to have no flaws.
Yes, yeah.
But, like, everybody does.
I love a good flawed character.
Yes,
you know?
yeah. And again, Ro, like, she was very flawed.
Yeah.
She also made very bad choices, but, like, I just loved her. I thought she was so cool. She really shook it up in TNG.
Yeah, that's it. She shook it up. I love that.
I'm not gonna say too much because we've already kind of gone over it. I think I just like, at least at the moment right now, all I can think of is the data storyline.
Yeah.
That was like that's
Data.
still I like every time I was like, oh my gosh, another Data episode. They're always so good.
Yes.
And like just seeing like more and more. Yeah.
I'm also gonna say the Quark storylines in Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah,
just
that's really good. So
oh
far.
my god, like the stuff that happens with Quark's mom later on. You get to meet Quark's mom, and
so
she's
far.
like shaking up Ferengi society. Oh, the Ferengi stuff in Deep Space Nine is so good.
So far, I like the most excited I am is for like the Ferengi storyline.
Yes,
now.
yes.
About who's the guy with the Odo?
Odo.
Does Odo's storyline get like a lot more interesting? Because it looks like it's going in a direction.
No.
Oh,
Perfect.
I was really hoping. I was really hoping he'd become a little bit more interesting.
It was flat and dry and perfect.
All right, I'll stop getting my hopes up. It's gonna be interesting.
I don't really like Odo.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay.
I like the character. I like the actor.
Like he's
Because
just
I was like, I didn't like Odo all that much.
He's
anyway.
just a cop, and he's just always a cop.
He's
and
always
he just
dry
never stops
and
being a cop.
Okay. All right.
You basically answered
he
that
gets
question.
He gets some like really fun and funny interactions with Quark.
Like
Like
that's not all his purposes.
But yeah, it's like other
Yeah,
than
it's
for, like,
kind of like the Tuvok
being
Neelix
so
relationship.
funny
Where, like,
because
he's a straight lace and he's the foil and he's
Yes,
constantly
yes,
annoying
yes,
him.
yes,
Yeah, it's basically
All
that
right, so I'll stop
essentially.
getting my hopes up. To Odo.
Yeah.
You answered it just like him, by the way. No, that's exactly how he would have
Is Odo
answered
gonna
it.
No.
Keep your eye on Garrick though.
Which one's Garrick again?
He's the lizard, Cardassian.
Oh my
He's the
gosh, yes.
Cardassian
Hold on.
tailor.
I'm actually really excited to see the Cardassians.
Oh,
I
your
can't wait for them
eye
to get
on
like
Garrick.
because there was a little hint of them being more to like who they are in like Next Generation.
Yeah,
They
but
kind
Deep
of
Space Nine is
explored,
like a
they're
lot of
not
it, is,
just a
especially towards
black
the
and
end.
white
It's a
villain.
lot about
Yes.
it.
Like they're
Yeah.
actually just also people that
Oh
are
my
just
God.
Because
in
so
this
much of
war.
the sort of the
Yes.
later seasons is about the Maquis
Yes.
in that series.
Yeah,
So it's
That's
Maquis
yeah.
versus the Cardassians, the
So
whole
the
war.
Maquis are
I never
this
just heard
like
them mentioned before.
Like a
this
sect, basically, like
uh,
a separate splinter group.
Yeah, they're a
almost.
splinter group. They splinter off of the Federation
Yes.
because
But they get other people involved.
there
like
are
the Bajorans
certain
and things like that.
Federation colonies, like either in like contested space or along borders that are like getting overtaken by the Cardassians, and the Federation isn't really doing anything about it.
Right.
So they're basically
Wasn't there a treaty?
Like,
kind of
yeah, there's some
it's
treaty
like a
that's
treaty.
not
We
being
can't
honored.
fight you, but we're going to ignore that you're doing this to our stuff.
Yes, exactly.
And that
exactly.
just didn't really sit very well. With
And
the
so
people.
they're like fighting back and trying to like protect their homes and like
and they're
keep
not
the
supposed to be.
Cardassians
So
out.
the Federations
Yes.
are hunting them down too.
Yes, yeah.
Because they're not supposed to be fighting
wow.
the Maquis.
It's rich.
Cardassians.
The
Wow.
Maquis are very like it's a rich text.
And that's how Voyager starts. Because Chakotay and B'Elanna are Maquis, and Tuvok is her, because Janeway's confidant. He's spying. He's like he's a spy in their organization, and they get pulled into the Delta Quadrant.
Yes.
So they're trying to hunt down the
Wow.
Maquis,
Yes.
and they get pulled to Delta, and then
Oh,
Voyager
now
gets
I'm
pulled
excited.
to the Delta
Yeah.
Quadrant as well.
Yeah.
And so the whole point is then the
I'm gonna have to
Maquis ship
actually
gets
continue
destroyed.
with Space Nine.
Right, Chakotay's ship gets destroyed, so all the Maquis on his ship now have to meld together with the Star
Janeway's
Trek,
ship.
with the Starfleet crew on Voyager. It's
Yes.
crazy. It is
So
really
good.
crazy.
It's
And it
so
spends a
cool.
good portion of the show, like the seasons, dealing with that. Eventually, it calms down. Like, all right, we're fine. We've been together long enough. We have a mission. We need to get home.
We got more important shit to worry about.
to fight about. Yeah. Every once in a while, it pops up, but not very often.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So it's really cool.
But yeah, so the Maquis also, they come up definitely in Deep Space Nine, but Deep Space Nine is about the Cardassian-Bajoran conflict, where like the Cardassians have basically just deoccupied. They're going through the process of like basically decolonizing Bajor.
Yeah, taking all the Bajorans off of there, basically. Said this is going to be ours, essentially.
Yeah, well, yeah. So in Deep Space Nine, like the Cardassians were doing that, and now the Federation has kind of moved in, and the Cardassians are like decolonizing. So they're trying to like they're extracting the Cardassians now. The Bajorans are like trying to build their own nation, and so Sisko is there like as a representative of the Federation to kind of like help the Bajorans' nation build after 50 years of like colonization. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So yeah, definitely like original series and Next Gen sort of give you this like overview of the Star Trek universe.
This is Star Trek.
Like this is the world,
No,
and
this
then
is the act like the boots on the ground.
yeah, we're
what
gonna
Star Trek.
yeah, we're gonna like dive into like one
little
aspect
section,
of
yeah.
this world, which I think is. I mean, that's why it can just keep going and
I
going and
love
going.
Star Trek because there's literally so, like infinite possibilities. Because if you get kind of like, okay, we're burnt down on this one planet or like this one quadrant.
Move on.
Look,
And they've been
there's
doing that
other
for a
quadrants.
while.
Yes.
And
So
I
now
think
there's a
Star
billion shows.
Wars is just kind of catching up to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like we're now starting to see some different
Yeah,
movies and
with
TV shows
Mandalorian,
that obviously
especially,
we're
yeah.
done with the Skywalker saga, so we can
Yes.
actually
Yeah.
see little like Mandalorian. We can see
Yeah,
little
yeah,
pockets of things that go on in the
that's
universe.
Like
That's
that
the really-
boots on the ground feel.
Yeah.
Instead of
That's-
like such a wide
Yeah.
range, it's
Yes.
like what does it
One
look
person
like in
story,
just one
one
little
group.
society
Yeah.
about one person
Yes,
or
yeah.
like a group of people. What
And,
they
makes
do.
it, and like you said, it's endless and it makes it really rich.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. Star Wars definitely doesn't get as much into the like cultural speculations.
They're
Not
just
at all.
now getting
Star
It's
Wars
shooty,
is
shooty,
very
bangy,
much
bangy.
like
or it's like only the big
Yeah.
top players are matter.
yeah, it's like very like classic traditional like 50s, 40s
space
and
western.
50s
space
western.
It's a
Yeah,
space western.
exactly.
It's like one of those westerns you don't need to know
Yes.
anything about the story.
Yes.
So my father, who I love, he likes watching space westerns. He's Italian, and he's it comes from there, and it's so much easier for him to just like I just watch it because I don't have to watch it.
Yes.
He'll say that I don't have to watch it. Like I can stop watching for 20, 30 minutes, go back and watch it, and I'm right with the
Yep.
story.
Yep.
I didn't miss much.
Yep.
Yeah, within that 20 minutes, I really didn't miss anything. I can just pick up right where I left. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what it is. So there isn't a lot of that. And you can't do that with Star Trek.
No way.
You can't. You have to know what's going on with all this stuff. Because if you
Or
didn't
else
know,
you will miss something.
yeah, if you didn't know all this stuff that we were just talking about
Yeah,
with
no.
the Bajoran and the Cardassians, then you'd be like, what the hell's happening
Yeah.
here? What's going on
so
right
you
now?
Get more in depth on this.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other thing that I really like about Star Trek and the way that it does its speculation is that it doesn't try to like exactly map onto real world like issues, like because when you're doing like speculative fiction about like social problems, it can be really easy to just like map like racism or sexism like onto aliens exactly the way it
Yeah.
comes up like
Which sometimes that will happen.
For sure.
Right? It's
Mhm.
got to
But-
eventually.
yeah,
You have
but
to have
like
something.
you think about like the Cardassian Bajoran thing, and people will say like, is it a metaphor for like Israel Palestine? Is it a metaphor for like American colonization of indigenous people? And it's like it could be
No,
anything.
Yeah.
It's simply
It's not.
Cardassian
Yeah,
of
it's
Bajoran.
it's its own
It's
thing,
that in general.
and you get to like make different comparisons with different aspects of like
That's
real
the
world
magic.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think Star Wars has ever really done even with the whole Jedi Sith and that sort of religious
Yes.
overtone
Yeah.
to it,
Well,
they
yeah.
still don't really go
It's
into
more like
it,
just
right? They kind of
Jedi
almost
versus Sith,
yeah,
and
but it's
you
like
compare
they're
to
basing on
other
these
things to Jedi
religions. They're
versus
kind of
Sith.
not mocking, but they're kind of signifying religions. But they don't really go into it that much. And then
Yes.
when it gets uncomfortable, they just wipe it.
Yeah.
Right, and now it's midichlorians, right? Like we just excuse
Yeah,
things
yeah,
away
yeah, yeah.
very easily. And I think that's why Star Trek it definitely deals in people
just
like
gets
that
so much
aspect of it because you can get into that a lot better.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, that was fantastic. Are we
That's
good?
Awesome. Yeah.
Anything
I
else?
mean-
Anything else you want to add?
Ugh.
How's the time? We left it.
I think
We're over an
Klingons
hour
are
already,
cool.
so this has been
Klingons
amazing.
are so cool.
Klingons?
Hey,
Ah,
cool.
Klingons.
they like yes. One thing I do
Very
have to
much.
say,
Yeah.
I'm so glad they brought back Worf on DS9. If you
Yeah.
love Worf in Next Gen,
I
Yes.
saw that. Like I peeked ahead and I was like,
Yep.
because someone told
Yes.
me they were like, "Oh yeah, Worf's in it." And I was like, No
they
way.
figured
Main
out
character?
they
Yeah.
figured out how to make Worf beautiful.
Mhm.
Like in the early TNG, they couldn't figure out the hair.
Oh, God,
In
it was
Yeah,
awful.
oh my god,
Space
the
Nine.
It was
bob.
awful.
I love the
Oh
bob for,
my
like,
God.
Yeah, it was
the whole
really
In Deep
bad.
Space Nine, he just like has the most beautiful, like long curly hair that's always pulled back in this really
Yes.
neat ponytail. They just
Yes.
made Worf look so beautiful.
They
Yeah,
make
the
Worf-
original
figured it
series
out.
of that, and they even did it to his son.
Oh my god,
Oh my gosh, his son.
Alexander.
Oh my god, I'm so glad his son is still relevant.
Yes.
It's so easy to just go, oh yeah, no, we put him on a planet somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't worry, he's fine.
He's just
No, he's with his little like Polish family.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't get enough of like his
I
his
love
normal
Worf's,
human parents. Like
weird,
"What
like
are you
Polish
doing?"
Jewish family. They're
Yes.
so
They're
sweet.
they're so wonderful.
Just like weird,
And
like
it's
Russian
so like
Jewish.
it's
yeah.
so like blindsided. Like it's like my parents are coming and you go what? And then it's like this cute couple like oh, are you eating enough?
It's
and
so
like,
good.
It's so cute. You're like what?
It's extremely good. Yeah, that's
Oh my god, that was magical.
yes, that's another good thing. Oh, I will say one of my favorite lines in Next Generation, Loxana Troy. She's getting married.
love Loxana Troy.
Betazoid culture.
She's so good.
Deanna says, "Mother, you mean you're not going to be naked at your own wedding?" It's my favorite line in all of Star Trek.
I love that. Like it's like the fact that you can just say that out of context and just go, what?
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? And you go, you obviously haven't seen
That's Star Trek.
I
Like,
love the
or at
fact that
least
she was
the
played by
two
Matthew
episodes.
Barrett.
Yes.
Like, come on, that
Yes,
was
so
incredible.
good.
The computer voice
Yes.
was
Barry's
who
wife.
played Loxana Troy.
Really?
Yeah, that was Loxana Troy. She was the computer voice.
Christine Chappell.
Oh
For-
wow.
The computer voice.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Loxana Troy.
Yep.
All the
Oh,
same
she's-
person.
Yeah, she was the
She's
original
wonderful.
Christine Chappell in the original series.
Yes.
And then-
Really?
yeah, they use and they do that a lot. Like, there's a lot of people that like have multiple characters
Yes.
across the different
Yes.
series.
Yeah.
You know, some people play the same character, but a lot of people play different characters across the. So one of my favorite is Barclay.
Oh yeah.
I love Barclay. I liked him on Next Generation. I loved his quick stint on Voyager
Yes.
when he's trying to get them home and he makes the contact with them.
He's
Barkley!
he's
Yes.
Oh my gosh, he's the guy that
Yes.
was just kind of there. And then
Yes,
addicted to
Reginald
holodeck.
Barclay, Ensign
Yeah.
Reginald
Yeah.
Barclay,
He's the
Lieutenant.
weird
Yeah,
nerd.
Oh my
He
god,
was
Barkley
incredible.
comes back.
yeah,
does.
Barclay. He does. Yeah, he's in Voyager briefly for a few episodes. They make contact with Voyager from the Delta Quadrant. They bounce it off like basically like a interstellar,
Yeah.
like a beat thing, and they get so they can make quick radio,
that's
and then
awesome.
eventually become more. You know, as they get closer, they can become constant contact with
I love
the
Barclay.
Federation, with the Alpha Quadrant. So yeah, that was really cool, and his interaction with Deanna in those
Yeah, yeah,
episodes,
yeah.
where she comes back quickly to help him. So I really enjoyed that storyline as well. That was fun. All right, excellent. There it is. We've talked about Star Trek
There
now
it
for
is.
well over an hour. That's
Ugh.
amazing.
Wonderful.
That
could
was
do it all day.
awesome. Yeah, I know. Really couldn't you? Well, I want to thank Eleanor, of course, for being here, and I would love to have you back again.
Thank you so much for having me. I would love to be back to talk more in depth.
Now I
about
know we talked about
Star
you're not
Trek,
really
other
into
shows.
social media, but
Oh
where
yeah,
can
you can find me on Facebook. I'm Eleanor Ann. Instagram Eleanor Ann. I don't do much on social media, but yeah, you can find me there.
Fantastic, awesome.
Perfect.
Mila, as always, thank you.
Anytime.
There you go. And don't forget to check out our
Well,
What If
available.
episode as well. If you haven't already, we did the What If episode 5 on the zombies. So
Yes.
that'll post up quickly. And everybody else, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you have any questions or you'd like to be a guest on the show, hit us up online. Our website is entertainmentrants.com. Our social media is all Entertainment Rants, and Twitter is Entertain Rants. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to leave us a review, we'd appreciate that. Any 20 to 90 seconds, just tell us what you think. Let other people know if this content is worth listening to, and we'd love to read your reviews on the air on the show. So feel free to hit us up anytime.
Booyah.
There it is. All right, everybody, start ranting. Have a great one, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.